Okay, now we're recording. Thank you, everybody, for arriving on time. We just want to honor your time. We know that people are trying to still log in. And hopefully everybody will be able to catch, the bulk of this workshop because we've only slotted it for an hour. My name is Enet Mukurazita. I am the founder of Alimah International. Alimah International basically seeks to connect female global scholars in the hope of sharing information. Our website is alimahinternational.org. It's still in production or whatever word you want to use. But basically, the first thing that you say, we say sharing the mist. And this really does come from my proverb. I am a Zimbabwean. So in my culture, we have a proverb which I will share in my language. It says "Zvikomo zvinopanana mote." It means that big mountains share mist. So when the mountains coexist, they share the mist, they exchange knowledge, and this is what we're trying to do at Alimah International. We're saying that these big mountains are the female scholars all over the world. So when they come together and connect, they exchange knowledge, they share the mist, and this is really um, the core of what we are trying to do at Alimah International. So recently we had an international female PhD exchange, and we had participants from here in the US and participants from Zimbabwe and South Africa. So we met 4 times with different guest speakers, and then each hour we would just connect and share what we have, what we'd like to have, and what came out of it was out of a needs and the skills assessment of these amazing female scholars. We realized that some of the participants had skills that the other participants needed, and this is what birthed these grants resources workshop, because the majority of needs were grant resources. People don't know where to find resources relating to grants. They are not sure exactly how to apply for grants. Now, grant writing is such a big topic that even if you look for it commercially, you actually have to spend money because, to apply for the type of grants that are available at this level, it requires a certain type of skill. So what we decided to do, working with 4 amazing PhD candidates from here in the US and one from South Africa, is that let's have an introductory grants workshop. This way, it will avail the information to everybody so that everybody knows where we're starting. And then we are going to build up on this. We are going to then offer a more detailed and in-depth workshops, which can really guide people on how to access and actually write grant proposals. So without wasting any more time, I would like to introduce our speakers, our presenters for this grants workshops. So we have Monique. I'm just gonna say Monique is waving if you could see her. She's logging in this morning from Chicago. She is a female PhD student here in the US. Thank you, Monique. Um, we have Elizabeth Buckhold. She is logging in from the Northeast, I believe, is it? Elizabeth, please correct me. You're muted, Elizabeth. It's okay.
Yes, I'm actually in Michigan, the United States,
Yes.
over by Flint, which is just north of Detroit.
Awesome. So yeah, we got Midwest, we got the East, and we've got our third presenter, Ntavalen Klapisi, all the way from South Africa. So yeah, logging in from the motherland, which is really wonderful. I was just asking her about the weather a few minutes because before everybody logged in, and she was just telling me how cold it is. And here in the US, we're in the summer. Yesterday here in Minneapolis, it was 90 degrees, which is now I don't even know how to convert it to Celsius, but you can do that. But it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's so hot, and you guys, it's your winter, but I guess that's how it works. Um, so basically, I'm just gonna let me see if I can share with you my screen. Yeah, I'm getting responses that some people are running late because I just sent a reminder email. So I'm just gonna share my screen and just quickly show you the agenda so that we can get going. And why can't I find my share screen? Oh, got it. Okay. Can hopefully everybody see my screen? So we are going to the presenters are going to present grants 101, which is grants types and locations, and this will be presented by Tabaleng. We also have Elise. She's the other presenter, but she's not able to be with us today, but she has shared her information with the co-presenters, Tabaleng, Elise, and Elizabeth. And then we'll move on to grant, one or two grant examples facilitated by Elise. And then we'll move to grant 103, telling your business story and journey, facilitated by Monique. And I'll come back with the wrap up and we'll talk a little bit more about the additional training, which I quickly just kind of shared a little about. But right now, I'm gonna hand it over to Tabaleng to get us started. Tabaleng,
Okay, let me just share my screen now.
awesome. Go ahead.
This is it. Yeah, can everyone see my screen? Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hi, everyone. As Annette has said, my name is Ntabeleng, and I'm originally from Lesotho, and this is a country inside South Africa, but I'm currently studying in South Africa in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and that is in a town just outside Durban. And yes, in medicinal chemistry. I'm a PhD candidate in medicinal chemistry. So today I'll be speaking about grant sources and the fellowship. Basically, some examples of these grant sources and some fellowships. So through this outline, because I think a lot of people who will be attending are from Africa, so I compiled this presentation based on that. So it's mostly, for example, the common scholarships for African students, and then some exchange programs for everyone, African students or people outside Africa. Then there's Canadian and US fellowships, and then there will be Asian and Australian fellowships, and then lastly, there'll be UK fellowships. So with each of the programs, I won't delve deep into it because, as Annette had said, we'll have hopefully another program where we'll be delving deep inside all of these programs on how to apply and the eligibility criteria and stuff like that. So first, I wanted to speak about why, because some people maybe ask, why do we really need to apply for fellowships, or why do we need to know about fellowships? I think the first thing is that we need financial support as students, as PhD students, specifically mostly female, because some people have families to support, and then the tuition fees are very expensive. So sometimes we do need the financial support. And sometimes for people, I don't know, because I'm in science, for us in science, we need funding for to buy chemicals, to travel, stuff like that. So we need research funding for research and also for academic recognition, because when you have funding, I'll make an example with the funding that I have, like the real funding, it gives also for networking opportunities, because sometimes some funding opportunities you get to be in the alumni of those fundings. So you network with people of in the US, in China, and stuff like that. Also, some fundings help you to focus on your research, because if there is science-based research, you need to just focus on your research and nothing else, because you have money. And job market preparation, and sometimes for other people who come from unprivileged backgrounds, for reduced debt burden. That's why we need. So I just wanted to make this slide so that we should understand maybe why do we need funding for our PhD. So these are some of the scholarships that you can get as common scholarships that African students can apply for. But I think you can apply for from different parts of the world. But as I said, these are just common scholarships. But I'll delve deep into the Commonwealth specifically in the next slide. And then there's the Dutch scholarship. And this is a scholarship, a German scholarship that you need to apply for. It's an exchange program where you need to be nominated by a supervisor in Germany. But firstly, you don't know what to do, because we need to send a proposal to a PhD supervisor in Germany, and then that supervisor will ask you to apply for the school. Then the school accepts you, and then after the school accepted you, then the school will nominate you for the Dutch scholarship. So that is how it works. But it's an exchange program. For example, if I study in South Africa, and then I also want to do some other lab or characterization techniques in Germany, then I can apply for the Dutch scholarship. So it normally covers the tuition, the flights, and tuition, flights, and accommodation. And then we also have the Fulbright scholarships. I think this one can be applied for everyone around the world, but this one you apply, it's a scholarship based when you want to study in the US. It can be applied for people outside the US or for people in the US, but I'll also delve a little deep into it in the next slide. So these are just common scholarships that can be applied for people either in science or social science. Yes, I think all of us can apply for this, but yeah, it's common scholarship for African students. And then, as I said, I'll delve deeper into the Commonwealth scholarship. So when you go to the Commonwealth website, I think the slides will be shared on the Alimah website. Then you'll just click on this hyperlink, and then it will take you to the website. You'll come across this slide here, where it shows you the eligibility, what you need to do, and all of that. So here I just show the countries that are eligible to apply for the Commonwealth scholarship. For example, I'm from Lesotho, so I will see that I'm eligible to apply for the Commonwealth scholarship. Also, it shows what it supports, like science and technology, access to inclusion and opportunity. So if your proposal involves such things as the science and technology, strengthening health systems and capacity, then you'll know that, well, I can apply for the Commonwealth scholarship. But with it as well, you need to have spoken to a supervisor in the UK and apply for a school before applying for it, because they need you to have been accepted, or at least you'd have been applied, but you have to have a supervisor who had said, I'm willing to work with you in the UK. So it's very competitive as well. But I think with the research that people do, people still get it. So these are the countries that are eligible to apply for this scholarship. The next scholarship is it's also like an exchange program, which is the Fulbright foreign student scholarship, which can either be applied by people from outside America who want to go outside other countries, or it can be who want to study in America, or it can be applied by people from the US who want to study abroad as well. So if you are not from the US, you need to have the benefits include the financial support, health and benefit plan, and other enrichment activities. But with it as well, I just showed, because most people will be like, where can I apply for the Fulbright scholarship? I just showed the website. So when the slides are exchanged, then you can just click on this link, then you go to it and then look at the eligibility and what you need to apply for it, and be ready in time before you apply for such a scholarship or exchange program. And then these are other exchange programs that can be applied for by African students, but I think by women specifically. For example, the Organization for Women in Science, this I'm part of. Many African countries are part of this organization. So there are PhD programs as well, where you can either apply. It's also part of the DAT because it's a UNESCO program. So you can either apply to study in Southern Africa, in Germany, in Pakistan, and other countries, and the US, I think. Also, there's also this one, the Chevening scholarship. This one normally is for master student if you want to do your masters in the UK. And then there is the Japan Society for Promotion of Science. This also you apply to go to Japan, but most of the scholarships or funding or exchange programs want a person to have a supervisor already. So you have to speak to a supervisor, send them a cold email showing your interest to work with them, then they can help you apply for the scholarship. Like I said, this one, the Organization for Women in Science, normally gives women opportunities to study in any way you want to study in, but it's a PhD fellowship, and with it, it covers, like it says, the monthly allowance and basic living expenses. It also gives you visa expenses, annual medical contributions. Also, with the OWSD, the Organization for Women in Science, if you have a child, they also support your child, or if you have a helper for your child, they also support that. And it's a very good scholarships because it supports women specifically for to study their PhD. And also it helps when you want to go for conferences, and it helps with the travel expenses, and also promote collaboration with other people in different parts of the world. So these are the countries which are alumni for the OWSD, which are highlighted in brownish or yellowish. So moving along, I just gave examples of scholarships in Canada and in the US, where it's both exchange programs and also fellowships, exchange programs, fellowships, and scholarships, where you can just go to the website and apply for such scholarships. But normally, like I said, with the past ones that I've spoken about, you need to have applied and spoken to a supervisor. Either send them a cold email or apply to the school first. So most of them, that's what they need you to do. And these ones are scholarships from the UK, like the Gates Cambridge scholarships, the Rhodes Scholarship, and the Commonwealth scholarships. But I'm a little biased because I'm a scientist. Most scholarships are for people in science, but others are for people in social sciences, like when you want to do your MBA and stuff like that. But most of them are for people in science. And then there's the Australian scholarships, where the same, you apply for the school, you speak to the supervisor, and then you can be able to apply for the scholarships, because your supervisor has to support you through that scholarships. So with all of them, I think on the next workshop, I'll be able to delve deeper into some of the scholarships, especially the ones that give people scholarships like 70% acceptance. Then I'll delve deeper into it on how you can apply, write good motivational letters and stuff like that. So as I've said, my name is Ntabile PC, and I'm a PhD candidate at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and these are my details. And some of the scholarships that I've gotten are the L'Oreal UNESCO for Women in Science, which I was the first Mosotho to win it in my country. And I also have the CSIR scholarship, which is a scholarship by the South African government. And it also supports my PhD work. And I've also been supported by the National Research Foundation. It's also a South African scholarship. Also, I've been supported by the Lesotho National Manpower for my PhD. So I think with this, I would like to thank you. And if you have any questions, then you can ask me.
Thank you, Tabaleng. I also wrote in the chat that anybody who has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will be monitoring it, and then we can have a Q&A after. So we'd like to hand it over to the next presenter, who's Elizabeth. Tabaleng, you can stop sharing. Thank you.
Okay. I'm in a good place to pick up from Tabaleng's work. I also have some more information on grants and where to find them, as well as fellowships and scholarships. Let me share my screen. Make sure. Oh. Okay, can everyone see a presentation? Okay, thank you. It's so weird how I can't. All right, so I'm Elizabeth Buckhold. I am currently a PhD student at Oakland University, studying K-12 leadership. And there is a QR code here on the first slide, and a shortened URL. I will have those also at the end. Those would take you to a published version of the presentation. That this will also be available in the folder when we are finished. Just an overview, I'm going to go through a few of the different categories of places that you can find grants and fellowships for PhD students. Tabaleng did a great introduction. It is finding grants. It's just very crucial for many students. It can be very expensive, and it can really open a lot of doors for people. So this presentation really is a collection of promising funding sources that were available as of June 2024. I did try to make sure I vetted these as well as I could, but no promises moving forward. Everything changes very fast. One of the first things I believe when you're looking for information is to look at your local university resources. Your university usually has an office of sponsored programs or scholarships and fellowships, and they have an office dedicated to helping you find the funding that you're looking for. And so you need to go and ask. They have people that can search databases for you. They offer workshops, and they can give you that personalized assistance. They are there to help you. They want you to get these monies too. So make sure you take advantage of that. Also, if you look at your particular graduate school, a lot of them have very specific funding for their own students, whether it's research funding or travel funding for conferences, or specific graduate assistant positions or fellowships. You can look there too. Obviously, your chances of getting money locally like that are much greater than if you go out looking elsewhere. But it's always a good place to start. I know specifically my university, they have a bunch of smaller grants like this, but it's not well advertised. So once you have to like kind of dig for it, and then you're like, wait, what do you mean you'll give me $500 to present at a conference? And it's just something that not even our professors are necessarily aware of. So digging through your local sources is always a great way to start. And then, of course, building your professional network and going to professional conferences. That one is also huge. Going to those discipline-specific conferences, there's going to be sessions that are featuring information or even the booths in the vendor areas. They're dedicated a lot to funding opportunities or helping you learn how to write for them, how to find them. Those are invaluable. Academic advisors and mentors. the people that are helping you through the process, and that you're meeting along the way during your research, they can give you that personalized advice, and they're going to direct you sometimes to lesser known funding sources that they might have an in on or sit on a board for, or be an application reader. Sometimes that's a way to get into the some of the lesser known funding. And of course, while you're going through all these journeys, make sure that you're building your professional network. While you're doing all these things, you're making new connections, you're forming new collaborations while you're out at conferences and meeting new people that have a passion for the same thing that you do. Make sure you keep in contact with them, because you never know what's going to come up. You never know when someone's going to share information or someone needs someone to collaborate with. And if you're there, you might be that person. So those are great places to also start from. When it comes to grants, there are databases out there that you can search. Some of the most popular ones are listed here. The issue with some of these grant databases is that they are only available to like organizations or nonprofits that want to do larger grants, like if it was a school district or if it was a university, or you need to have an institution subscription to even access them. So while you might start searching and come across these, just know that you might have a paywall or something kind of in your way. Doesn't mean that you can't stop and talk to a mentor at the university and see what your access level could be and what you can find. But just note that there's going to be a lot of stuff directing you to these online, and just that it's not always as fruitful as you might hope. The other thing to be wary of is when you're out there and you're online looking for assistance with finding grants, be very wary of sites that do require you to pay to find things and to subscribe to have access to something. There's a lot of scams out there. There's a lot of promises that will help you find this and will give you access to this. Please just be very careful. And if you do feel that you need to, you find a good thing, make sure you vet the source and get some credibility behind it before you actually start putting money towards it. US government agencies also, and this goes for most governments, but they will have lots of government sponsored fellowships and research grants. Like Natabalyn said, the Fulbright program, they have specific programs for doctoral research, for exchanges, for all sorts of things, international, US, for pretty much everyone all over the world. And it's administered in over 140 countries. And so that is a good one to start if you want some, typically they're involved with travel, and it's a great thing to put on your CV. And it's also, for everyone that's ever got that opportunity, it's a wonderful, amazing, life-changing experience. So the US Department of Education offers research grants and fellowships for education. The US National Defense, they have the Institutes of Health and the National Foundation also have a lot of grants that are available for researchers. And one of the big things too, when you're going through these grants, is to pay attention to deadlines. Grant cycles, they do tend to follow fiscal years. However, the application approval timelines can happen any time during the year. Sometimes the application approval can take 2 months, and sometimes it's a 6-month process. So you always check those deadlines when the application process opens and closes. And if it's not fitting your current timeline, but it's something you really are passionate and interested about, add it to your calendar as a reminder. So if it opens up in November, add it there so you know, remember to go back in November and to check for that so you can start working on it. A lot of times they'll still give you the application materials and you can start working on them ahead of time also. But juggling those deadlines and making sure that you don't miss them is another tricky thing to do with some of these grants. Professional organizations is another great place to look for. If you haven't joined a professional organization, they have them all over the world. They have them at the local level, national level, and international level. They are usually very specific to whatever it is that you are studying. And they come in all shapes and all sorts of different varieties. I found that some of them have research grants, but there were a lot of them that actually had dissertation support grants, which I thought was very interesting. So just money support to help you get through that last part of your dissertation process, finalizing your research and stuff. There were quite a few of them out there, which I thought was very helpful. And again, a lot of them do come from, like Natalia said, from science, in any sort of STEM category. There's a lot of support out there for those. But there's also a lot of stuff for humanities and social sciences. Is usually not as much funding for those kind of opportunities. But always, if you're a member of anything, check out what they are offering as far as their funding opportunities. International funding, here's just a list, and actually Natalia hit that them right of the head greatly. She even had a more extensive list, but there are international funding opportunities that can be taken advantage of, and even a lot of the funding opportunities that I spoke of before are not limited to just US citizens or a specific country. You got to really check those application requirements carefully. They are not always tied to a nationality or a geographic area. And there are a lot of them that are looking for global collaboration too. So that also is a big selling point and a great opportunity. So don't let any geographic location, anything limit you. Check it out and see. There's always the private foundations also. There's a lot of foundations out there that have money. Those are usually pretty big ones sometimes. My only cautionary advice to you on these is to research the foundation to ensure that it matches your goals and your values. That is very important to you as an ethical researcher. And then pay attention to any unique requirements that this grant may have. As a private foundation, they're not necessarily held to some of the same standards and public scrutiny per se. They can do more things a little behind the scenes. And they might ask for things like promotional or reporting requirements that aren't typical in some other grants, use of specific materials, or a focus on specific geographic areas and whatnot. So they do have a lot of private funding out there. Some of the requirements and expectations might be a little different than what you are used to. Yep, so that was my presentation. I tried to get through a little faster. We're running a little behind. One thing that Elise, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, also did note is that she has found a lot of success with getting grants from, she's in the sciences, and a lot of the materials and supplies that she uses, the vendors for those products, she's been able to go back to those companies and find different grants and funding sources from them too. So I thought that was actually a really good point also for finding grants. I do have a link here, again, the QR code and the bit.ly to the presentation. And I also just have all these grants listed, so you don't have to dig through a presentation again. So I have another QR code and a link there. That's just a list of grants on a Google Doc. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or email me if you have any questions, or if you have any other wonderful ideas that I am not aware of and you can teach me something, because I am constantly looking to improve my knowledge base in this area, because I'm in the same boat as you guys, looking for all those wonderful funding opportunities. So thank you for listening. And I believe Monique is up to tell us about how to land those grants with her storytelling.
Great job all around for everyone. Thank you very much for that introduction as well. And I've added my contact information to the chat. Good morning to everyone from Chicago. Noi, I hope you all are having a beautiful time, a great day, and I had wanted to share with you all just a little bit of information, and I'll go a little slower. A little bit about me. My name is Monique Bury Ballard, and I come to you all from uh, a perspective of having an MBA, from being an educator as well. And I like to get to where the money is. With that being said, what I am going to talk with you all about is to how to tell your story, specifically how to tell your story so that stakeholders, specifically funders, can share with you resources. With that being said, I am going to talk to you about the 600-second story. Obviously, with you all being beautiful, brilliant, lovely scholars, you can translate that 600 seconds is about 10 minutes or so. I'm not too sure about you all, but I am a Gen Xer. I am now in the age of social media and TikTok, and I cannot even watch a whole 90-minute movie anymore without having to pause and get up. Or if a video is not available to me on double time, especially if it's from the professor's perspective, I am bored out of my mind. With that being said, 600 seconds is kind of the sweet spot on how to tell your story. Looking at track history of as to how this number came to be, the infamous TED Talk series maximum time is 18 minutes. Therefore, we have truncated it or shortened it to about 10 minutes so that you can hook your audience and tell your story, finally get to where the money is. With that being said, I want to make sure that you all also can see my screen. Is that accurate? All right, outstanding. I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Dr. Mukaritsa of Alimah International. There are also other colleagues that I want to shout out, Dr. Buckholt, Dr. Hapsally, and also Dr. Miller. I know that we are currently in that phase of studying, but I am claiming it now. With that being said, the purpose or objective of this conversation is to explain, engage, as well as to have practice. Ordinarily, this workshop that I am going to give to you in about 10 minutes is usually 4.5 hours long. With that being said, I want to give you a preview today, and using the contact information that I've already added to the chat, that is another way you can reach out to me, or through alimahinternational.org and sign up for our longer form workshop of this hands-on application. I don't necessarily like to read verbatim to our audience, but you will notice that the objectives of learning how to tell the 600-second story is to explain your journey to funders in order to obtain financial resources, sometimes even placements, sometimes even fellowships, such as the case of what Alimah International does provide as well. We also want you to be able to engage in hands-on activities by practicing how to tell your own 600-second story. And you can do that in the interim by practicing time strategies. And I'll show you how today. Ordinarily, when we are looking at funding, there's a blueprint. And the shortened version of the blueprint are these 9 aspects of funding that we see here. Number 7, how to tell your story in order to win awards or to win and secure funding, is how your storytelling journey fits into the big picture or into the narrative of how donors fund programs or projects. I do want to pause here and highlight that ordinarily when we are in academia, we tend to see ourselves as imposters at times. We also may see ourselves as scholars or rigid academics wanting to climb the Ivy Tower ladder. Conversely, From a business perspective, we have service, we have programs, we have projects and ideas that can be monetized. And if you have not yet considered yourself in business, I firmly encourage you to do so now. Considering your innovative idea from a business perspective in which you are partnering with institutions, organizations, or even other businesses can be exploited or expanded to this huge view. You'll notice in the lower left-hand corner of the screen is that number 7 aspect of how to tell your own story. And going deeper, in our longer form workshop, we will talk about how each of these components add to you narrating who you are, what the problem is, and why you need funding. Once more, during our longer form workshop, we will have hands-on activities in order to pull out from you how you can tell your own personal story. But as we are looking together, we'll see that that sweet spot again is about 10 minutes in length for attention purposes. And when we are telling a story, ordinarily we start out with the beginning, the middle, and the end. A beginning aspect of me. My name is Monique Bury Ballard. I hail from Chicago. I am a first generation college student. A middle portion or the problem or climax of the story. I've discovered that education has a lot of resistance to change. I also noticed being a classroom teacher that educators as well as students are bored of sitting in school for 8 hours out the day for 180 days out the year. Things have to change. And at the end, I would tell my funder, the reason why I need your help is because I have a wonderful, innovative idea on how to maximize learning, increase engagement, and I need your help. I've told the story arc of who I am, the problem that I want to solve, and what I need from the stakeholder. I've done it in just a short amount of time, but again, with Alimah International, I can teach you how to create your own version of that 600-second story that really pulls at the heartstrings. If we wanted to look at it a different way, we want to talk about, once again, the beginning, middle, and end of your own journey. You want to talk about yourself, you in the beginning. You want to highlight what the problem or problems are that need solving in the middle. And then in the end, you want to explain to organizations why you need their help. Once more, this is explained in further detail in the 4.5 version of the workshop. If you have figured out by now, Monique, I know what the game is. You want me to practice telling my story and expand it in 10 minutes. Yeah, you're probably right. With that being said, this screen here shows different options for you to practice or rehearse your story to get it just right. If you are a person similar to me who likes to have feedback and accountability, and maybe even some guidance on how to write and narrate your own story, I am available to do that as well. Once again, I am Monique Bury Ballard. It has been my pleasure to introduce to you this topic on how you too can share your story. And once more, in the chat is my contact information. I definitely look forward to working with and learning from you in the future.
Thank you, Monique. Wow. I just want to take this opportunity to thank our presenters, Tabaleng, Elizabeth, and Monique. I think they really presented valuable information for us this morning. So I really just want to open up this time for any questions or any clarifications that anybody might have, and just to retract 1 minute is that, we had a presentation from Elise, but because of time, we are going to be putting it up on the website so that everybody can access it. But I just want to open up this time for any questions, clarifications for our wonderful presenters this morning. So feel free to unmute or post your question in the chat for us. Maybe a question that I would have is, what is the difference between a grant and a fellowship? And any of the presenters can respond to that.
This is Monique here, and I would assert that the difference between a grant and a fellowship is this. A grant tends to be a one or limited number of funding opportunities. Grants one typically applies for, and it is usually competitive, and it oftentimes is in the form of a monetary amount. An example, working as a classroom teacher, I wrote to Amazon engineering program to obtain STEM resources for my students. They gave $50,000 of in-kind support. Not all of that was money, but some of it was curriculum and educational resources, all totaling $50,000. Oppositely, a fellowship is more of a long-term commitment that can range from 12 months upwards to 5 years in some cases. And fellowships at this level of academic status is whereas one would typically provide teaching and or research to an organization or to an institution such as a college. A fellowship would also come with a title to be used for networking purposes to add on your CV. And fellowships, in my experience, also come with leading talks or conversations, such as what we're doing here with Alimah International.
Thank you, Monique.
You're welcome.
Do any of our participants have any questions for our presenters that they might have? And we will be posting this recording on our website so that you can go through everything. And the presenters have shared with you their information, so feel free to contact them on their specific presentation. I really just want to thank everybody for coming to this presentation. Saturday morning for us in the US, and it's evening for those in Southern Africa. I really want to thank you so much. There's so much we could have been doing this Saturday. But I also want to speak to the future workshops, the long form, as Monique stated, that each presenter, we are planning for them to come back and give a long, an in-depth presentation of what they gave. Because if I may speak to the storytelling, that really does need further training for you to be able to really explain who you are. Because I really understand how, these funders, they want to give money basically to a person who aligns with what it is that they're doing. So you have to be able to align what your work with what it is that they're doing and they want to further. And as Elizabeth said, especially if they're private foundations, they have things that they want. There's an image that they want to present out there, or there's a something else for commercial purposes. So I think the information they presented, and Tabaleng really gave in-depth sources of funding for African students. And as she said, she's a scientist. So when she comes back now, she'll be able to actually present and give us more resources for those of us who are in the social sciences. So these long form workshops, we are planning them hopefully every 3 months. And when we come back, we are going to be asking for funding because this is going to take a lot of time for the presenters. As much as we know that maybe not everybody will be able to pay, we are going to look for funding as Alimah International, maybe to either sponsor some students or be able to pay our presenters so that we can make it public, because we want to be able to share this information to a lot of female global scholars out there because they don't have this information. And the only way we can do it is for somebody to also pay these presenters, because these are your next doctors. As Monique presented us all as Dr. Mkurazita, I'm on that journey, and maybe the next time you see me, I will have that title. So as experts in our respective fields, we are going to start charging and for this long form. So as in Alimah International, I'm also going to be looking for funding to ensure that everybody can attend. But we will inform you. We have your details. We will be writing to you, sharing the video, and sharing with you further programming that we have as Alimah International, besides this long form presentation. So we just want to thank our presenters one more time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, doctors. This is amazing work and wonderful global collaboration that we witnessed here. We know that it will continue because that is our core business here at Alimah. We globally connect female scholars, and we'll continue to do it. So I just want to wish everybody a very good rest of your Saturday. Those out in Southern Africa, good evening to you and enjoy. Thank you very much. Bye bye here from Alimah. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. 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 Awesome.
Bye, Ned. Thank you.
You are welcome.